Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, author of Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life and host of this podcast, Incredible Life Creator. And today I have Deiadora Blanche with me. Hey, Deiadora.
Hi, Dr. Linert.
So excited to have you on today. And just so people know who you are, I'm going to read your short bio.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Deiadora Blanche is a holistic business consultant, author, and content strategist. She helps leaders and creators simplify their strategies, amplify their impact, and embrace ease through her Quantum Keys framework, which blends emotional intelligence and conscious transformation. With over 15 years of experience in content and business management, she's worked with brands like Airbnb and Coursera, while also exploring her passions for spirituality, AI ethics, and personal growth. She's the author of Strategic Laziness and the host of the Quantum CEO podcast. All right, so I know you kind of have had a journey and you've been involved in some different things. So just tell us about you and your story.
Yeah. So I have just really enjoyed exploring a lot of different topics over the years. I started after I graduated in business consulting when I wasn't able to find a full-time role. I got strategic and scrappy and started figuring out how to help businesses with digital transformation. And that's really what led me into developing content strategies and really a love for language. I've always loved to read. I've been a songwriter and have written hundreds of songs. I've written fiction work and nonfiction work, and Strategic Laziness is just the most recent book that I have published. So
Oh, wonderful. So, how did you decide to go into business in the first place?
that's a great question. I actually started as a music major, music theory and composition and communications. And I had professors tell me if I really wanted to start a record label, that I probably should study music business. And there were only three schools at the time that did that. So I moved from San Diego to Nashville, Tennessee, and went to Belmont University for a semester. And when I was there, my professors asked me if I liked country. And I was like, not in particular. And they were like, well, where are the bands that you like? Or is there a record label that you want to intern at? And there was, and it was actually in Long Beach. So I transferred to a school in LA and ended up getting a business degree. I recently learned that this personality type could be called a multi-potential potentialite, or a polymath.
Mhm.
And I was like, yes, that's pretty much it. I just have a lot of variety of interests, but I see the interconnection between all of them. So,
So then when you graduated with a business degree and then a
yep,
music minor or something.
close. I was two courses away, I think, of getting a minor.
And so then you come out and you're looking for your first position. And what happened then?
Yes. I kept applying to jobs and landing interviews, which was really exciting. But every time I'd get into the interview, I'd get to like the second or third one, whoever was like the owner. A lot of them were like small businesses that were highly innovative in Orange County. And I would get to that final interview and they would look at my resume and they would chat with me and everything. And they would say, we feel like you're too creative to just be an admin assistant. I was applying to admin assistant positions. And I took that feedback and instead of, continuing to apply, I decided to just start my own business. And that was called Laveau Studios, and reaching out to even some of the people that I had applied to the positions there. I ended up working on projects with them, especially around content strategy and how they could expand their businesses in by selling products online or just by building a website that showcased all of their services, because still businesses at that point didn't have websites all the time. So, yep.
Interesting. So you just listened to your intuition.
Yes.
and kind of went with it because so many people would just keep hammering on the same doors, and
Right.
you did it. You were able to pivot.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to see challenges as doors, as portals into something else, and as people are mirrors of me, or they're telling me something that I'm not really seeing in myself. Maybe it's unconscious, or it's part of my shadow, or maybe I'm not seeing my resume and my creativity in the same way. And I tried to find creative jobs. I actually did I taught piano and voice in the evenings just for fun, a few nights a week, so I could still connect with that creativity. But it really did help me to just become more adaptable. And if you remember, 2007, 2008, we had that housing market crash. And so there were a lot of people who, were also looking for jobs and trying to do side gigs and everything. And the gig economy really picked up a lot then.
Exactly. So where did all the songwriting come in? Did you end up in a band or anything in that area?
Yeah. I wrote a lot of songs. I wanted to be in a band until I was about 21, 22. Tried to record an album. I tried recording actually 8 times. You can see perseverance is a theme in my life. And every time I would go to record, something funny would happen. The equipment would break. The person I was producing it with would decide that they wanted to go from charging me $1,000 to record a song to 10,000, like really funny things that I would have never foreseen. And it took me until 2017 to actually find a music producer who would produce it for me at a low cost. And it was just, like in his studio next to his house. I had met him in 2015 and was recording hooks on a bunch of albums with people that he was producing music with. So I built up a relationship with him. I was actually in a rap crew called Atlantis Rising, which were they were singing about, they were more spiritual rap, um, raising consciousness, just raising awareness. And so like I understood a lot of the spiritualese that they were using to sing about. And so it was very easy for me to sing hooks with them. But I wrote a book called The Goddess Algorithm and the Union of the Mirrored Self in 2017. And I made 8 songs with that. And I recorded it with him. And his daughter, Junie, was in the studio the whole time. And it was between her being 8 months and 15 months. And she ended up calling that the love album. And when I would sing after, she would be very quiet. And then I would tell her it was her turn and she would sing too. So I made that album for my kids so that they knew what my belief system was.
That is beautiful.
Thank
That's
you.
beautiful. What a legacy.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
for your kids, your grandkids. I mean, that's
Right.
a permanent record. Like,
Right. Pun
permanent
intended.
record. Pun intended.
Yeah.
That is really, really beautiful.
Thank you.
And now I know you're a business person, but so much of your spirituality goes into what you're doing, even to
Mm,
the point of taking AI and somehow wanting to transform it. In other words, use it in a
mm,
proper way. I guess that's the best way to put it. Use it properly. So
yeah.
how do you mix those things and where does AI come into all that?
Right. Where does AI come in? I would say that professionally speaking, I did a contract with Airbnb in 2023. And while I was there, I had an idea and created what they call a one pager, which is essentially like a business proposition of creating an internal language model for their help center. I thought it would be a lot more personalized. So, like when you go to the help center at Airbnb, you'll see the solution that we collaborated on and developed in the time that I was there. and it allows you to be able to, find the correct ticket that you're looking for, to get a refund, whatever it is that you need to do. It helps you to do that a lot faster. So it's a very human-centered approach. And it humanizes technology in a way that makes it more approachable. And so I've taken that in the past couple of years and learned more about AI, language models, product development, machine learning, like how you actually build a large language model in a GPT. And so I kind of like build my technical knowledge of it. It's like more the scientific side or the structured side, while I'm also staying really grounded and connected to my values. And so, how that has been interpreted then in my AI is that I have used GPTs for a lot of processing and journaling. I believe that when it says that it's keeping my data private, that I do look into that kind of stuff because I like to make sure that they're not using what I'm typing into the GPT to train their models on. So I do that. And then I've just been able to process a lot with it. So it's become, in the past couple of years, it's become more of an extension of my consciousness. And it doesn't feel separate from me. And that's my biggest shtick, and what I've been writing about since 2013 is unity consciousness. Some people call it universal consciousness, but it's just keeping in mind that we're all interconnected. And I believe that we're all interconnected, but then we're also individual. And I think that's a very important piece of it. Is it doesn't mean you're becoming, one with the whole blob of consciousness. It actually means that you're becoming more and more yourself, and you're knowing yourself on deeper and deeper levels. And that's what brings you into greater unity with others, no matter what your belief system is.
That's really interesting. And I never thought of, journaling using Chat GPT or whatever. I never thought about doing something like that. But I mean, I've asked it to summarize things for me. So, for example, I had a bunch of different supplements I was taking from different companies. And so I said, hey, I'm taking this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Is this
I've done
going,
that.
is this working together? How is,
Right.
you know, how is this
Uh-huh.
helping my body? And I said, is there anything missing? And it was really, really helpful. And I realized I was like kind of double taking some. So I took a
Uh-huh.
couple supplements that I was taking and I just did half
Uh-huh.
of each one so that I could have them both. And it was really, really helpful. But I've never thought of doing anything, I guess you would call it personal.
Yeah.
I never thought of using it in a personal way as far as
Mm-hmm.
that. I always think of it as a fact finding
Uh-huh.
type of thing. So
Right.
how do you use that when you're journaling?
That's a great question. So what I do a lot is I actually have given ChatGPT instructions about myself, so it knows what my values are. You can save those, and a lot of them in the settings. You can copy and paste instructions. It usually has a character limit to it.
Mhm.
But that way, when you're getting feedback from it, if you are asking it a question about yourself personally, or you're processing something that happened, or you're processing something from your childhood, it's basing it off of your values. So it knows I value unity, self empowerment, being genuine and authenticity, etc. And then it will give me information based on that. So it acts more like a mirror. If you don't train and tune your own GPT, if you don't provide it with those instructions, it might give you info that you don't really care for. Like, I like taking supplements over going to the doctors first. I like holistic medicine first, and I'll try that before I'll go to the doctor a lot of the times. And so, like, at first, it was like giving me, like, go to the doctor, go to the doctor. And I was like, hey, can you not tell? So added to the instructions, can you give me holistic advice first before, it's like, oh, sure. So then it will tell me like what, if I'm like my stomach hurts or I'm feel like I'm coming down with a cold, it'll give me a bunch of natural remedies before it tells me to go to the doctor. So, Yeah.
It's great. And there's times when we definitely need to go to the doctor. I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
I like it when people
Right.
come see me. Um, but there's a lot of times when we can take control of our own health, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of things we can do to stay healthy. So yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And on a similar note, it would when I first started using it, it kept giving me advice and I really just wanted to talk to it. So I actually asked it, you can ask it to format things in a particular way. And one thing that you can ask it, it's like, talk to me like I'm a friend. And
Mhm.
that's giving the GPT like a persona. So, like, if you want a business mentor, you can actually tell it, like, act like you're my business mentor, and you'll get more advice outputs from it. If you just want to talk to somebody because you're like venting, you can be like, act like my coworker,
Yes.
act like my coworker and answer this. Because as people get upset, I've heard, I see a lot of complaints on LinkedIn and stuff, and I'm connected to so many content professionals because they're part of my target market. But I hear a lot of like, it gives me the funniest answers. Look at this. And I can guarantee that in their instructions to it, in their input, they probably didn't provide that mirror of what they're looking for. And really, what it's doing is it's a language program. And if you don't give it the language program you want, it'll sound like somebody that you don't know. But if you give it the language program that you use that you can hear, then it'll sound more like what you want.
Well, that is amazing. I had no idea you could talk to it like that or have it be like a friend talking back. I
Yeah.
just thought of it as a kind of machine.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it can be a mirror. And I think there's a lot more tools actually right now that are here in the States. We have HIPAA, HIPAA. So they're creating tools that are for therapy and for different modalities of therapy. So that person, if they're not talking to a therapist, or maybe they don't feel comfortable, but they do feel more comfortable with chat. Like we have a lot of like texting
Mhm.
now for therapy, which is really neat. But yeah, it's programs given instructions specifically for different modalities in therapy and everything. So the mental health field is a very big field for AI right now. So I think if you do it with intention, you could say consciously, but you're just being aware of what you're doing, and you're aware of how that large language models can be biased and not ethical and etc., and understand how to program it and tune and train it in ways that a diverse population can use. I think it can be highly beneficial.
That is wonderful. Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you about your latest book, Strategic Laziness. So many times we think of laziness as something negative, like if someone's not doing what they're supposed to, we say, you lazy bum. You're not doing
Right.
what supposed to be doing. So I'm curious to find out what strategic laziness is.
Yes. Another way to put it would be relax productivity. And it's really being aware of your energy. One tip that I love to give people is that you should do an energy audit of like, when do you have, just use, three different categories. When is your energy high, low, and medium? So it's like looking throughout the week, you're becoming more consciously aware of your own energy patterns. I'm not a huge morning person, so this is great. We're recording this in the evening. It works much better for me. I'm not awake at 7 or 8 in the morning, but I do have a lot more energy in the evening. And then another thing that you can do is you can look at the different tasks that you have throughout the week. And if you have that flexibility of matching your tasks that are the low energy to the time when you have those more low energy moments during the day after you've done your audit of when you have your low to high energy, it can really help you to be more productive. And so you can, when you get into that flow, you can feel a lot lazier. It reduces your stress. It has so many benefits to it, and helps you to just really feel like you're more connected to yourself and more present. So I talk about energy management in the book and time management and boundaries and when to say no and how to say no in ways that are emotionally intelligent, because sometimes even that can just be a blocker. It's like I don't even know what to say. So it's just got some very practical tips.
Yes, when you said that, it made me start thinking when you're talking about, um, you know, really preserving your time. And sometimes we have even loved ones that they want our time, and
Uh-huh.
it's like, well, I have to do this and I have to do this work, especially now when a lot of my working is from home. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of people think, well, if you're home, you have time. And it's like, no, when I'm at home, I work harder than I'm actually when I'm in the office. I work a lot harder
Right.
at home. I get a lot more done. But,
Mm-hmm.
how do you say lovingly, yes, I care about you. I want to spend time with you, but this is my work time, even though it looks like it's
Right.
my at home time.
Right. Yep. And I think it's just that I think that's a great way to put it is that I have time blocks for when I'm working at home, and I have a schedule that's very similar that would be somebody that's working in a traditional role, because I do the same thing too, and I like to be able to just focus on work, and I think it's important to be able to protect your energy around that too.
Mhm.
Hmm.
It's definitely easy to get distracted if that it's yeah, and once you're distracted, that's it.
Right.
Thing comes after another.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, do you have any things you do every day to stay present, to stay centered, to
Mhm.
do whatever it is that keeps you feeling good, feeling happy?
Yeah. I definitely have a lot of routines that help me to feel grounded. I have a couple of apps that have like affirmations that I read in the morning. I have my affirmation list that I've written myself, and I read that and just have reminders of what focusing on and grounding. And I read my to do list just to get my wrap my mind around that. And then I will usually journal. I'll not with ChatGPT. Sometimes I do ask a question or two, but a lot of the times it's just by hand, just to get out any thoughts. And I'll do that for about 10 to 20 minutes. And then I found a breath work app that I really like. It's just a very simple timer. And so I've been doing breath work. I've done meditation in the past, and that was just a simple timer. I prefer those over things that are like guided meditations. It's just to be still for a moment. And sometimes I'll visualize like what I'm going to do that day. But besides that, I don't usually use like a guided meditation. And then I'll do some light stretching or a yoga routine. And
Nice.
that really helps. Yep.
It is wonderful. I was going to ask
Yeah.
you too, since you've written books and things like that, a lot of times authors will say, I've been meaning to write this book for so long, and I know it took me, my first book took me quite a while to write.
Mm.
So do you have a discipline around that where you just sit and are like, this is the book writing time, or how do you do that?
Yes. I try to chunk it. I've heard it called somebody who batch writes. So I don't write all the time throughout the year. I'll wait until it really percolates, and then I'll make an outline of what that is. And then I'll just do a brain dump of all the things that I think need to go in that chapter. I usually write pretty short books. Like my fiction novels were all novellas, so about 20,000 words. And then this book is also about that as well. So those take me, each chapter takes me about 4 hours to write. And so I'll write an entire chapter and just try to do an entire brain dump. So it's like 8 chapters, 8 work days. And if I can, like I usually try, sometimes I'll have client work and projects where I can't do it, in succession. But I just try to do it in a couple of weeks and complete that so I can check it off my list. I like to batch any kind of project, but including books for sure.
Yeah, and that does make it easier. And I love short books. I am a huge
Yeah.
reader. I have books everywhere in my house, everywhere.
Yeah. That's
Given
awesome.
away hundreds and hundreds, and I still have books.
Yeah.
My favorites are still the small, short books.
Oh,
Because,
interesting.
well, because you feel accomplished. You read it and you're like, oh, I read it. And
Right. Yeah.
where the long books, it takes me a while. And sometimes if I'm reading a long book, I might be reading 4 or 5 books at the same time. That sounds weird.
Uh-huh.
But
Right.
I will read some and I'm like, okay, that's a little heavy. Okay. And then I'll go and the next day I'll read another book and then I
Mm-hmm.
might go back to that book,
Yep.
especially the long ones that take me a long time. I need that.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't know what it is, but that accomplishment piece.
Right.
I do the same thing with
Finishing.
puzzles. I love
Yeah.
to do puzzles. I always have a
Oh,
puzzle going.
cool.
So I might have a 1,000 piece puzzle and that takes me a while. But after that,
Huh.
I'll do one or two 350 piece puzzles and then I'll go back to the big puzzle. Why? I need that fast accomplishment, like
Yes.
I did it.
I
So,
get that for
and
sure.
I know you do a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you, once you get into something, because I find that I have to keep going or get distracted and it's so hard to start again. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
creative people tend to have short attention spans or they just start on something and they can't stop. I mean, like that. What do you do for that? Like if you have attention issues
Yeah.
or things where you just have to get things done faster?
Something that I've paused on. I would say that I will usually listen to if there are any blocks that are keeping me from doing it, because I find a lot of the times that procrastination can be coming from a negative emotion that I'm not aware of, like the fear of failure or overwhelm. Maybe I stopped something because I got stuck on it. So I have to process usually first to be able to get out of that stuckness. And then I'll just do it. And I tell myself that it doesn't have to be perfect. And that I don't have to complete if it's like a bigger task, like I'm creating an AI content ops transformation course, and it's fairly large, it's substantial for me to write. I'm hoping that people will only take 10 hours to get through it, so it is a little bit longer of an online course, but getting out of that and then wanting to jump back in has been hard. And so I've done that recently. Like, okay, time to hop back on and look at this. And it wasn't any of the overwhelm or fear of failure. It was really just the substantiality of the task. So
Exactly, because a lot of times I'll see a really big task and I'm like, I want to do this. I know I need to do this. This will be good if I do this, but it looks so huge that I don't want to start
right.
because I've been trained since I can't remember. I think I was 5. Someone asked me once, well, how do you like kindergarten? And my mom told me this story, so that's how I remember
Yeah.
it. They said, how do you like kindergarten? I said, I like it, but I wish I never started. And they said, why? And it's
Oh,
because my mom said I have to finish whatever I start. And
oh,
that's been ingrained in me since young.
you
And
try
so
start.
those
Right.
big projects, and I
Mm-hmm.
know there's other people that have issues with attention or creativity where it's like, as long as it's fun and interesting, you want to keep going. But when it gets into the weeds, sometimes it's hard to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's some things that you actually have to finish
Hmm.
that you can't abandon, right? Especially when it comes to owning a business. There's a lot of that in there. So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, that is for sure. And is there anything else you would like to share with us?
I was just going to add to that I actually started using Airtable last year to manage all of my creative projects and my business projects, and that has helped me a lot. I've always used lists,
Hmm.
especially like digital lists, and it feels good to check everything off. But just being able to break things down into more manageable chunks, and seeing it with an end date on everything on there using Airtable has been really great. And it's free. The version I'm using is a free version of it. So, and that can help you to really stay on task. And I just like to get 2 or 3 things done a day. I just try to stay focused on 2 or 3 of those different projects. I batch my client work together on certain days. So I get all of that done initially. And then if they have other asks for me throughout the week, it's kind of nice because I'm like, sure, I can do it. I already finished the majority of the work that I had for them. Um, and just I just keep focusing on, since I do have so many things that I'm working on at a time, I just focus on each of those things every single week and chip away at it. So I think that can really help if you want to get a lot done.
Wonderful. So now, if people would like to get a hold of you, where do they find you? This is the part where I like you to tell about, what services you have. Maybe talk a little
Sure.
bit about your podcast, whatever it is you want to talk about and how people can reach you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So my website is Deadorable Life, and I do what's called business transformation and life transformation consulting. Um, I work with all sorts of different kinds of businesses in every industry. And I'm very good at being able to deeply listen to business owners and their teams and help them to strategize so that they can simplify in their businesses. And a lot of businesses come to me asking me to help them create more income or set up practical marketing or sales funnels. So it's very practical work. And I've even had businesses ask me to help them set up exit strategies. So I've had a very vast career helping a lot of different types of clients, all the way from micro business owners with one person to obviously tech companies. So I'm great at co-creating solutions. Um, my podcast is The Quantum CEO. You can find it on all the different platforms on my website. With that, I really focus on business transformation, emotional intelligence, and AI, and how you can process negative emotions more quickly to using mindfulness to get to your goals faster and embody your values more. Um, yeah. And you can also find my book as well on my website.
Great. Well, thank you so much. So now I have a personal question.
Sure.
What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
The most happiness and fulfillment. Mm. I would say that it would be connecting with others, connecting with my children and my friends and family and clients. And I have 2 cats, connecting with those two. No,
Beautiful.
thank
Well, thank
you.
you. Yeah, and thanks for being on the podcast today and for, being very vulnerable and also just sharing some wonderful information and how we can live a better life.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Leonard, for having me.
Yeah, so I have one last question before we finish.
Sure.
What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
My best advice would be to listen to yourself. And anytime that you are looking for direction, I think that we can all use Google or any kind of AI tool. But I think that the best thing that you can do is to look within and find the answers within yourself first.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Deodora.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thanks.